Okay, let's try this.
Okay,
Go
let's
ahead,
try this.
Liz. Thanks.
Create a World will come to you at a station near you later.
Yeah.
Good morning. We're on Creative World on Friday, January 13th. I don't know, are you, what's the word? It's a senior moment. Uh, Superstitious, that's it. See,
Oh,
for me,
that's right. Friday
yeah,
the
Friday the
13th.
13th. See, for me, 13 is my power number. Yeah. So, so here we are on Creative World. Uh, I am moving into my 65th year today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I'm here with Deb. And I thought, after watching you, Deb, and Heather last Friday, I thought, how cool would it be to start the 65th year, continuing the conversation that you had
Mm.
uh, with Heather last week, because this year for me is about unpacking and unpacking many different things. Unpacking the word unpacking is one of them. Um, and so unpacking health is really, it's number one on my list this year. Unpacking creation templates is number two. Um, so, so you and I have been talking earlier in the week about this one question: what is it that has feeling better, just feeling better in our bodies, not be a motivational thing?
Mm.
I call it a carrot. It's like, the horse is plodding along and the carrot's in front of him, and he's encouraged to go around the ring because he's got the carrot and he knows he's going to get the carrot. And I use that analogy all the time. And so I would say for myself, I am being used by that analogy and used by that question, because when I even looked at the question earlier this morning, there was this flicker, or I don't know how to say it. A couple of us, when we get on Zoom lately, that our screens have been wobbly
Mm.
and kind of wavery, and that's how I feel the programming in my system happen.
Wow.
Even by looking at that question, what is it that has feeling better not be a carrot? Because I went to that even last night and the night before when I got a craving. I got the craving and I could feel this programming. And for me, for everyone's knowledge, my main issue with health has been sugar, and trying to shift my patterning around sugar and how I look at sugar, uh, and also changing eating habits to be healthier. And so it's been since the beginning of the year, and I'm really noticing that patterning. And to try to tie in with the medical field, that's another piece of this pie. You know, the medical field wants us to feel better, but for me, there's no carrot there.
Yeah. Yeah.
because because I've just known, I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me to lose weight, so it's like, why would I want to go see you? Because I know you're going to tell me what I already know that I need to do, kind of thing. Um, so so the day before, yesterday, I did have this sugar craving after I ate dinner, and I went, oh my gosh, I could feel the programming there, and there's this little wavering, which is just fascinating. This little voice going, oh, come on, you can just have a little bit. And yesterday I did have a little bit of chocolate, and it was brilliant. I had two little pieces and it was perfect. And they said on this app I'm using, 70% dark chocolate is, that's okay if you have just a little bit of it. So that programming came in, and I went, okay, what do I do? So I went onto this app that I'll talk about in a minute. Went onto the app and I went, okay, is there something around sugar cravings? Of course there is. So I went and I started to read about it, and they gave me a tool that I hadn't seen before, or maybe I had seen it. And see, here's where the programming comes in. That's fascinating. Maybe I did read this before, but they said, put an alarm on for 5 minutes, and then in that 5 minutes, do something to distract yourself. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to put the alarm on because I'm reading this article. That's distracting enough. And I had my water with me, and I was kind of drinking some water. And I knew that I was going to get up and make tea, because the tea has a natural sweetener in it. There's no sugar in it. It just tastes good. So I thought, okay, I know I'm going to make that, and I'll just read this article. Well, sure enough, after I finished the article, the craving was gone. And I thought, this is really cool. So the app is called Simple. And that's another thing I want to talk about, is there are all these possibilities out there in the realm of health to help you along your health journey. There's no one app or one pill or one anything that's going to work for everyone. And so
You've said a bunch of really cool stuff. Do you mind if I interrupt?
Yeah, jump in.
I already have interrupted you. So, but do you mind if I keep going?
Yeah, go.
So I'm not talking from I know it all. I'm telling this to everybody because I'm on a real similar journey, which makes it lovely to have this conversation with you. I'm just sharing stuff I've noticed, and I'm a real, why machine. Well, why is that? Well, why is that? I love just figuring stuff out. So when I'm listening to you, I'm hearing, let's see if I can. So I've wondered that too, of how come the drive to be healthy doesn't override my drive to have the sugar, the whatever, because I tend to go salt, sweet, so my potato chips or whatever. Well, it took me a long time to figure out that the urge to have the sugar, I don't know. Well, it's obviously an illusion. For me, I'm going as far as saying it's an addiction. And there is studies to show, I read this like a year ago. Sugar can be as addicting as cocaine. I almost fell over. I had no idea. But that's been my experience. It was really addicting. And there seemed to be an emotional component with me. So for you to get to the point where you're saying, let me read this article, let me distract myself, and you picked something really healthy, read the article, make my tea, all of that. To me, that's emotionally mature. It took me a long time to get to that part. And there was a long time that I was really putting myself through some of the steps of AA. I didn't go to Overeaters Anonymous. I did that once a long time ago. And there was just so much. I mean, this was many years back, but I just haven't tried it recently. It was very negative for me. It didn't work for me. But it's like the illusion is stronger than something really healthy. These are some of the reasons I said getting healthy is not for the faint of heart. And our whole society is structured on, just take a pill and handle it. Just do this, just do that. Or all the different people's agenda. Oh, this one product will be the answer. Well, it took me forever to figure out they have an agenda. And it might be that thing is really good for me, but has to be in context with other things. It can't be a fast food mentality. So I kept having to dig under, like, what's the reason? Do you know what I'm saying? I
I
had
know exactly what you're saying, because
to,
that's something I didn't articulate yet, that I've been through this same health journey many, many times. When I started to go through menopause and my hormones went loony on me, so did the sugar then, and it's not just sugar either for me, it's both. Exactly. So you and I are parallel in our
yeah,
journeys here. And I have been through this same thing every single time, except
every
this
time.
time is different. This time is
Yeah,
different. And I think what, for me, I was trying to think, well, what is different? Because today, I mean, for the last couple of days, I have been feeling so much better. And so, what is different? And why is me saying I'm feeling so much better and wanting to continue this time? Why is that different this time? And I think for me, really, it comes down to on this day, on this hour at 8:14 Pacific Standard Time, it's the knowing and the being aware of the program. And I have to thank Tantra for that, because she planted that little seed in me. Um, that
and what do you mean by the programs?
program.
What?
Sugar to me is like a computer chip, and it's not,
Ah,
I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but this is how I see it. It's like a little being, it's this little being and it's the addiction. You can call the addiction a little being. It's alive, and it really is strong. I
yeah,
mean, it makes me really be more compassionate for someone who
yeah,
is on drugs, because I do agree it's like crack.
yeah,
And I can see sometimes in the past there's this freneticism. I've watched kids too, teaching kids. I hear they come into my room in the morning and they're all jazzed up. Well, they've had sugar cereal.
yeah,
So I've seen it in play so many times, but I never thought about it as a program or like a little live being or something like that. That, of course, it wants you to take more for a whole host of reasons. One of which is maybe there's some little cute little parasites living inside of you that feed off of the sugar.
yeah,
And so, how I've been grappling since the beginning of the month of, well, how can I override the program? And all of these unique ways, unique to each of us. You and I talked about this, about how
yeah,
what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, but being in conversation about it and teaming up about it is
yeah,
one of the ways that is having it be different this time. And the second is recognizing that it's a program and making a choice in that moment to override the program and say, thank you, I've got this. Sorry, go back into your cave and I'll take you out at some other point, um, and have some sugar, but not today. Um, so overriding it or distracting, literally, I mean, the app said, that's a suggestion. You can override this by distracting yourself, which I went, oh, that was a new way of looking at it
yeah,
this time. And as I look and I see and I feel myself looking better already, feeling better already, to create a different story this time for myself. Because in the past, the story was always, yeah, but you're going to go back to it. This will work for a while, and then what? Right? There was
so
always,
you're rewriting the program.
I'm rewriting the program. Yeah, good point. Rewriting the program.
That's brilliant.
One little baby step at a time. So I want to pick up a little bit on what you said, because anyone on any kind of a health journey is going to say, "Oh yeah, this I can see this." You were talking about the magic pill. I'm just noticing, even though lately I haven't been on social media going to any health related articles, I just noticed, social media, the little gurus there pick up on that, and then they feed all this stuff into your feed about what's right and what's not right.
Yeah.
So, in the past, I was telling you last week about this one particular product that I'm not going to name because it's probably not kind, but this woman comes on and she's so compelling about it that I really thought a lot about, that sounds really cool. I just have to take this pill and the fat will melt off, right? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Um, so social media is a huge piece of the programming.
Yeah, it is. And our whole lifestyle is geared towards, even this morning, I got to have my coffee to get awake.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's true or not, it might be true in the exact minute, but is it true as a lifestyle thing? No, there's plenty of people who don't drink coffee, but also, distinguishing, I enjoy coffee.
Yeah.
And so before I get off on that part, so you're talking about discernment and
Mm-hmm.
figuring out your system, or me figuring out mine, because for whether it's because I stumbled and fell a whole lot and went back to the sugar, fell into the illusion too many times, or the term addiction works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Holding myself in, I'm an addict, is working for me. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, that's too harsh for a lot of people, or has too many connotations. So you working with programming works for you. You're rewriting a computer code. Great. Well, it has taken me a long time to start to feel better. It's hard to hold on that long.
Mm-hmm.
And to get the discernment. Now, thank heavens, I didn't go on a whole bunch of fad diets and do diet pills or whatever, but I was really tempted.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the keto thing for a while, and then couldn't figure out why I couldn't hold on. But then I do love the articles, because I'm learning about the human system, and then why is mine different, or how is mine different. So I've found like three doctors, or one person's a chiropractor on YouTube, that I'm pretty sure are trustworthy. I'm not going to say their names because that's not the point.
Right.
The point is that I found a few that I think are okay, and then there have been a couple of others that they were good for what they were good for in the minute,
Mm-hmm.
but figuring out, well, going back to the keto, I fell into the what's wrong with me thing, and then I read something that gave me articulation. This other woman said she adhered to keto, lost all kinds of weight, but she said, I'm now in the journey of my relationship to food got ruined. I got so harsh on counting or measuring the different things you do for keto that my relationship to food is not very good right now. And I realized, okay, it wasn't that something was wrong with me. It was my whole system's geared for a real relationship with something. Now, and that's, the fine line diciness. I think I'm finally at the point you're talking about. There's a lot of discipline in how all the things you're describing. And I'm finally at that point where, okay, keto can shift into kind of use some of those principles, use the Mediterranean diet, principles. This is for me. But
Mhm.
what's my relationship to food? What's my relationship to exercise? The fact is, it's kind of like how we've talked on Create a World. All these things, everything's got a place. So the thing of calories in, calories out has a place. I got forever changed by Heather bringing up, just be kind to your physician. The whole system is broken and they're stuck in it too. So I don't want to go sit there and be told, well, just lose weight when they don't say anything helpful about it. I feel the same as you. They didn't give me anything helpful to go lose weight, not anything except judge me for not losing weight. That's how I feel. And one of my doctors, this was quite a while back, she had in her mind, she was an integrative doctor. So she had in her mind, this is how my people lose weight. And she would guide people on and I kept telling her, this isn't working. I feel like this or this. I can tell something's wrong. And even she would judge me as, well, that's just because you're fat and you've you've got so much weight. Of course, your legs are going to feel like that. And it
Mhm.
turned out, no, there was an underlying, excuse me, piece of the puzzle that we didn't discover for quite a while. So I don't know. I don't mean, I feel like I'm babbling now, but
No, not at all. I totally get what you're saying, and that is the unpacking piece
okay.
because
So
it is so different for each of us.
it is. So what's the fine line
Mhm.
for this is the truth about me, my body, and my lifestyle, and here's where I'm making excuses
Mhm.
and caving into my sugar cravings. I've really had to stare myself down about that.
Yep.
No, you are on the just one drink. I can handle just one drink. I can go walk into the bar and be just fine. No, tank.
Yeah.
Or I'm the kind of, like I've really
Yep.
had that's taken a lot to
Yep.
discern, and that my relationship with food and exercise and all the pieces is is unique, and I'm just on the edge of honoring it now. That's beginning to be the carrot for me. I love how you use that thing.
Mhm.
And then, all right, Heather, sorry, I'm going to bash the medical profession, the allopathic or traditional medical system. I have been finding out so much about vitamins and minerals and things that I had never been taught. Take your vitamins is not good enough. Eat your spinach is not good enough. The food pyramid that you and I are about the same age. So the
Mhm.
food pyramid that we grew up with is being discovered to be completely backwards. In fact, once when I tried Weight Watchers years back, so I signed up for the diabetic version, and what I got in the mail was almost totally processed carbs.
Oh,
I will not ever go back. I, I guess that's maybe an attitude to examine, you know, maybe it's different now. But the fact that they sent me under supposedly expert dietitian designed food meals, they sent me uh I got just a small, well, I can't even remember because it really was years ago how many
mhm.
meals I got, but I got just a small number. Every one of them was based on like the base of the meal was like noodles and tons of noodles and hardly any protein and no green vegetables in there at all.
Wow.
And even back then I knew better than that. And so it's been a long haul to learn about all of that, the vitamins, the minerals, how they interrelate. And then my needs might be a little different than yours. And then you and me as women might be a little different than men. And I'm not a physician, so I kind of resent having to work this hard to understand how this system works, but resentment doesn't help. So it's really complicated sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ah,
that's hence the term unpacking, because you know, everything I hear you're saying is similar to my journey. I did Nutrisystem. This was back in 1990, I remember, because or 1989, because my oldest was, it was just before I got pregnant.
yeah,
That, you know, and back then, yeah, it was so very, very different, you know, and there are so many theories and so much, you know, what I can feel is the immensity of the field of health and nutrition in your speaking to wade through.
hmm,
And so now I'm thinking, so what's different this time? And what's different for me is in unpacking, you know, what I've said thus far sounds like a lot, but for me, it's a day to day thing. And I'm looking at one aspect, or, you know, just a few little tiny articles that are adorable because they have all these really cute graphics and really calming colors in the background
nice.
that don't freak me out. Um, and so being able to take in small bites of BITES and BYTES of information. Oh, the English language. Um,
That's funny though. That's fine.
yeah,
That was good.
right. All those at a time is, um, that's been key, and not becoming overwhelmed. Just before I started on the journey, just before the first, you know, I made a conscious choice. Okay, I'm going to eat whatever I want through the holidays, and then I'll do it. You know, the whole resolution thing. You can look at it from that hat, but for me, it was different this time.
Yeah.
I knew my carrot is, a trip in October to the desert where I know that I want to be more vibrant. And so that's my carrot to work towards. But now I'm coming to find day by day that the carrot really is now looking at the life journey differently, and like you said, rewriting the stories.
Wow.
Because prior to starting this, one of the things, it was almost like a movie that I saw of my life in this lifetime, and wondering, being in this wondering, and that's part of it. There's no, you know, it's all in the questions. Being in this one wonderment of how I'm wondering if I even came onto the planet this lifetime addicted to sugar.
Mm,
Just like little ones coming onto the planet are addicted to drugs.
yeah.
And that's something I'll never know, but it's a wondering now. And so I saw this whole slideshow of how, from a very young age, I had to have it, and how my relationship, you know, you talked about relationship to food, my relationship to anything sugar, because I am a connoisseur. I know everything. I know every brand. I know all about it. Um, how that relationship developed from so many different needs and reasons for why, you know, I needed it. And I have such fond memories. There's some of my favorite memories of going to the drugstore when I was little. It was a big deal. I got to walk in there by myself. I had my own money, and I would stand in front of that candy counter once a week and just make my choices. Well, that's a really cool relationship. You know,
Yeah.
it was a cool experience. I remember I became really good friends with the pharmacist at the pharmacy
Yeah.
there. You know, it was an old town, old home thing. So it was a huge experience. So before I start on this journey, I'm being shown all of these different experiences, and they're embedded in me. And I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. And so coming from that now, awareness of how sugar's had me all my life and has been my best friend, and has comforted me through all of the stress, and I'm also shown slideshows of sitting here trying to do, spiritual work and
Yeah.
just chowing down. And part of the programming is, well, I need to keep weight on in order to do the work that I do. So that's been the latest one. And now going, I think I'm going to rewrite that, because in order to do what I need to do now, I can't have the weight on.
Yeah. So it sounds like, I mean, there's so many really rich points in there. I'm just picking one. It sounds like you've had somehow something has allowed you to get out of what's wrong with me and be and like, oh, I see. It's been part of my positive life experiences in conditioning these different ways. Because you said thinking the way I often think, or thinking like a psychologist, it's very complex what you said. Very simple and very complex. And it reminded me another bunch of the YouTube stuff. I like looking at the videos of other cultures preparing foods or doing a festivity instead of, and some of them have been so cool, things I never knew. But it has illuminated for me what I'm missing, what I feel like I'm missing in my life around food. Like, I really do like Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners. The last several years have been very toned down, like just my nuclear family, not extended family. And that was fine for a while, but I notice I'm missing it now. And food is how people use food to express different ways of coming together and rituals and things like that. I'm exploring that now. What is food in terms of connecting with others and forming community? Well, I'm not doing it to find answers like the truth. I'm doing it to access something beyond what I think the modern Western culture offers generally, and didn't exist in my family of origin, my blood family. It didn't, food wasn't used well as a way for coming together. I think I said that right,
Yeah.
So I'm really getting a lot out of what you're saying, kind of translating through how my
Yeah, no, I love what you said too, because the whole, I mean, gathering that's my soul mission, to gather, and food is huge around that. I mean, I grew up eating really, really well. My mother was an excellent cook, and she was Armenian, so, different from the American culture. So we had a lot of Armenian food.
Mhm.
And my father was Danish, so then, meat and potatoes kind of farmer, so there was a lot of really solid, good food, and gathering around the table, although it wasn't always fun just because of my family culture, but that gathering was big for me. And as I moved into adulthood, I didn't know how to cook, and so I moved into taking a gourmet cooking class that taught me the basics. And what did we do? We gathered. And
Mm.
so for me, that I like sitting around the table for hours. We did a co-family dinner for a Christmas event that we do every year, and we included my daughter's boyfriend and his family. So it was so
Wow.
cool getting to know them. We were at that table for 3 hours. So that richness, the food for me at that event was secondary because I was so fascinated with his parents and our conversation and how we could relate so well. That we all enjoyed the conversation, and the food was kind of secondary, even though that traditional meal that we always have at Christmas, we were all sharing together. But you also touched on, looking at different cultures, and
Yeah.
that takes me to the 100-Foot Journey, which is this adorable movie about food.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched that in a long time. I'm
I
going to
love
remind
that
myself.
movie, and you can just taste the flavors. And so now, as a result of, looking at what you're saying, that's another thing that is informational that I'm coming to now embrace, because before I would push it away, which is, well, what can you substitute to create that same experience with your food, which then translates to gathering, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can substitute things and try different spices and whatnot, which was one of my favorite parts of that movie, was watching what an art it was when he would put things together that just turned out magically. And just really savoring and slowing down and appreciating the flavors of things. So I'm pulling that into my little toolbox now, and also seeing that foods that are high in fat, we need high in good fat,
Mm-hmm.
are okay to eat, because our programming, there's so much out there about, well, you can't eat too many high fat foods. Well, that's true. Everything in moderation, but you do need them. And that was a misconception, and what had me fail before, because I thought, well, I can't have butter, I can't have avocados, I can't have, some of these things that are high in fat. Well, no, you're supposed to be having them. They're part of what builds a full and rich diet for the body, save unless you're, allergic to them, which those two I'm not, definitely.
Right. Yeah.
And so having the right amount of that high fat and at what time of day, that's a whole puzzle right there.
Yeah.
That's part of the journey. And so for me this time too, exploring all of that is, I'm looking at it like I looked at learning math, because math was really hard for me. Now I'm saying, okay, this is a new puzzle. I love puzzles. It's a mystery. I love mysteries. So looking at it from that standpoint, a mystery to be explored, not necessarily to be solved, because then there's no carrot.
You know, that's really cool, because if I've got a mystery, I want the solution. I don't like hanging out in just the mystery of something. I like the solution. That's really interesting. There might be some adjustment of attitude or approach available for me. And let's see, what was the other thing you said? I'm sorry, I lost it. But there's
Okay, well, talking about the flavors and all of that, and the gathering, okay, so we'll take today for example. So I'm going out to lunch, and with my daughter, and I said, I've been telling myself since the very beginning of the month, knowing my birthday's coming up. So how, walk yourself through, how is this gonna be? Well, one, I'm gonna allow myself to have basically whatever. And then I am going to look at watching my portioning. And the place that I selected to eat at doesn't throw huge portions at you, but it's really good tasting food. And so, it's that whole concept of cutting things in half. So if there is more than I think I can eat, I'll cut it in half and take it home, and then have the other half at, as a leftover. But to definitely enjoy and not to limit myself. And that's part of what I'm doing with this whole journey is, yes, I'm learning too how to cut down my portions, but also I'm doing the intermittent fasting, which is really not hard because most of the time I'm fasting, I'm sleeping. So that's another,
That's
another
a good
piece of
point.
programming, that I'm putting into my brain. And then I'm saying, okay, well, can I wait a little longer in the morning before I eat? Yeah, I think I can do that. So just one little step at a time, that I'm taking and placing in there. And then, uh, having that become part of this smorgasbord, part of this, let's call it a buffet of choice.
Well, you said, I do want to point out that one of the things that I've recently learned, recently being the last year, is how important sleep is to everything about your health and well-being, including the capacity to lose weight. So for anybody watching,
Yeah.
if you're not sleeping enough, not sleeping well, figure out how to handle that, because and that's like another thing that I'm in this rewriting the story. I love the idea of that, because I've got I'm discovering as I'm listening to you so many stories. I I, I had been so, over all the years of my work life, like I didn't sleep very well or very much, or stayed in bed too much trying to get just that little bit of sleep. Unbalanced is what I'm saying, and was ignorant of the importance, and really influenced by the kind of workaholic culture that's I find, maybe other people don't find it in the Western world, but somehow I was in that pocket, and how much it influences like your hormones and all those other things. And the stories of enjoying my food, listening to you, food was very mechanical. I would overeat and indulge and, all those other things. But as far as my meals went, I didn't enjoy preparing food, didn't enjoy food prep, didn't have, except on a couple of occasions, like the gatherings we would do, or like the workshop gatherings, or the couple of family holidays, Thanksgiving, and I'm talking more about extended family. All the rest of the year was just be mechanical, fix it, shovel it in your face to keep going. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a richness or a balance like you're talking about. Because I'm not hearing any, I got to be disciplined about this. It's so interesting listening to you. To me, it's an experience of, what's the word I want, Liz?
Yeah, there's joy in it this time, even though I will not. I will say right here, it's really hard. It is hard to change my habits.
Mhm.
And that's, I don't know, something this time has me really want to change them, and really sitting and doing that unpacking of looking at the different layers of what led me here, and then looking into, well, what had me have that become a habit.
Mhm.
And then from there, choosing, okay, I think I want to change this habit. One of the habits was, sitting doing work on the computer and eating.
Ah,
Like
yes.
to stay awake, and then I'd have sugar and I'd get tired because that's what happens.
Yeah, you get the
You take
up
the
and then the
sugar. Yep, exactly. And so now there isn't that spike. And so I replaced eating at the computer with drinking tea. So I have my 1 cup of coffee, and then I immediately move into, I found a black tea for the first time, because I'm not a black tea drinker, but I found one that has my favorite spices in it. It has cardamom and cinnamon. And I drank that yesterday and noticed, wow, I have a decrease in my appetite here. So, all these little things. But I drank tea throughout the whole morning. And then, I ate lunch way late. So and then at night I stop eating by 7:30.
yeah,
And now I want to pull that up a little to, 7. Um, and so all these little things, there's joy in those shifts, and joy in finding out that, oh, I can do tea. That's like eating, because when I want to eat, then I'll pull the tea up and start drinking it.
yeah,
Just all those little things. So that is a big shift from, oh my, I gotta, the way I looked at it before.
yeah.
Definitely.
And I'm hearing, and I've, comparing and contrasting with what I've done, because there have been some times I have to make X a rule, period,
Hmm.
or I can't hold to it.
Yeah.
Like stop eating by 7:30,
Yeah.
period.
Yep.
Or something else. I don't know. I can't think of an example right now, but some of what you're saying is like a rule for you.
Hmm.
It's just the way it is. Like show up at work by whatever work time starts. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
And and yet other things, there's more of a flow of life, it seems like. Well, I haven't been able to be I want to say loose, but I don't mean that badly. I mean that
Hmm.
like in a certain flow, because it's become reality. I'm still having to be rigid with myself. Uh, but in the being rigid, certain things, as I'm listening to you, certain things are becoming what, like a part of my reality, not something I have to impose on myself. But I'm noticing though where I'm rewriting the story too. Imposing something on myself is on behalf of, like, if I was a little kid learning to read, I have to learn my ABCs. Or if
Yeah.
I'm learning math, I have to learn certain parts. And I, that's really powerful for me. That's actually helping quite a lot to see and to get hits of things that were going on when I grew up that's okay. I just didn't really pay attention because I'm trying to do here and now, lose weight and get
Hmm.
healthy. Losing weight is part of getting healthy for me
Right.
at this juncture. But I can look back. So I didn't look at anything from the past. It's just the way it was. Just move on. Just move on.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So you're bringing up, this, I was the same as you as far as work is concerned. And I could sit here and go, because I want to, I want to go, well, yeah, it was the same way with me with work, with the stress, and now I'm retired. So I don't have that stress and whatnot. And so my relationship around food has changed, because the scheduling has changed. I still do work. I still tutor, and I go out of the house to tutor sometimes. And then I get back a little bit later, but still there isn't that same stressor.
mm-hmm.
But still I think then I stop and say, okay, yes, this is a great awareness piece of how,
Yeah.
It's important to see where we have been, I think. That's, that's my general opinion. That where we have been and where life had us, you know, um, and then see, okay, look at that and go, okay, yeah, all right, I'm aware now. I'm aware that I was under so much stress. I was sleeping like 5 hours a night, 6 hours, and that's common for us here in
Right.
the States. That 5 and 6 hours, and some nights it is that way still. Some nights I'm just now up until
Yeah.
11, and I get up at 6. Well, that's 7 hours, but still. So I like the idea of having that past, just in the knowing piece that, okay, so now what's it going to look like? And instead of me saying, well, yeah, I was stressed out, which I was hugely stressed in my job. It was a stressful existence. I mean, even in that existence, I did have some successes with losing weight and having hormonal balance because of the journeys I went on during that time. And so is it, and it's a question I'm not going to answer because don't know.
Yeah.
Is it because I'm in this season of my life that things are clicking? Is it because I've had a very powerful session with a very powerful healer that is helping me wipe away some of this programming? Um, could
Yeah.
be, don't know.
And all the factors, you've been chipping away at it for a while,
Yeah,
and so have I. And there's many recursions of here we go again. I'm going to
yeah,
try again. And, all these different things coming together is what's allowing you to start. Or I shouldn't tell you that. I shouldn't say it like that.
yeah,
It seems
yeah,
to
could
me
be,
that's
could
what I'm
be.
hearing. That's how I should say it.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at, yeah, I was under a lot of stress, and here's what the components of the stress were that didn't work for me. That's different than blaming or making excuses, which I've done a lot of. Like, if it weren't for this or this, and oh well, kind of like what Heather said, the system was broken.
Mm-hmm.
It is in pretty much, there's all kinds of aspects of the world we live in now that don't allow for a really healthy existence, an individual or a nuclear family, much less socially. But, and I do think that a lot of that brokenness caused a lot of my health issues. But sitting around in blame doesn't get me anywhere.
Right.
So, however it got broken, I'm accountable and responsible for my little piece of the universe, of which this body is a part. That's one of the things I've had to come to.
Yeah.
Somebody else broke it. I got to fix it. No quarter. There's just no way around it. For my little piece of the universe, this little body, and discovering, or not so little body.
Yeah.
yet. But I just realized that's allowing me to form a whole new relationship with this body.
Yeah.
And I'm not as I'm a little more disconnected from that piece of reality than others, like you and Victoria and Lori are more oriented from body, I think. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, I'm coming to learn about it. No, I was not oriented at all until I started the new field work.
I mean,
So,
thank heavens, because
yeah.
I'm not by myself.
Yeah. No.
No,
not at all. And I could use that too as a piece of the puzzle. Well, maybe becoming more aware of the body too, Yeah. And rewriting that. Yeah, we were at the effect of all of these factors. Okay, yeah, I probably came in addicted to sugar, and so okay, can I accept that? That's the new field piece that can I accept that?
Exactly. Can
Yeah,
you accept it?
totally. It makes up who I am, and I've had a colorful life with this relationship with sugar. How cool is that? I never thought that before. This is a new thing. Um, so coming into relationship, everything is in relationship with everything else.
Wowie, wowie.
Yep.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
I never ever thought that in relation to my health journey.
Yeah.
And we're almost at the top of the hour. So is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to add?
Um,
We've got to go.
I think the piece here is, yes, everything is in relationship with everything else, and I think that's kind of our principle this week, I believe. And everything's always moving to the next greater whole, right? So having that piece of this health journey, and also saying that it is so individual for each one of us, and to honor that, and to play with that, and that collaborating and being in sync and connection with each other around this, I think will help us rewrite our stories. So
Yeah,
anyone out there who's, doing similar work, to, think about teaming up, because Deb and I are teaming up, and we're teaming up with our friend Claudia to just, check in with each other and play with this as a team. So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. And it's time for us to wrap it
Yeah.
up.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everybody.
everybody. Okay, how do I? Whoops.